The current scale of compute expansion is visible in these rows of illuminated racks. We are building data centers by the gigawatt to support a single objective: proprietary AI dominance. To sustain this build-out, capital expenditure hit historic highs. Hyperscalers are betting their balance sheets entirely. But this physical expansion relies on an incomplete map, scaling on fragmented views of global data. This matrix plots hyperscaler strategy as a binary risk profile. The top left is a narrow win condition. The bottom right reveals a massive failure state. If proprietary AI stalls or regulations correct, hyperscalers will hold the largest concentration of stranded assets in economic history. The scale of this risk changes the AI race. Success depends on the long-term utility of the physical infrastructure. Industry forecasts assume tracking user behavior and market proxies provides a reliable blueprint for future infrastructure. This data defines inferred demand, a speculative metric derived from surface-level web activity. Forecasting inferred demand shoots the curve upward, creating an illusion of limitless growth. Chasing this volatile curve forces physical capacity to an artificial peak. When demand corrects, high capacity remains. This massive gap creates phantom demand, vacant data centers, and heavy externalized debt. Avoiding this causal wall requires a structural hedge that bypasses inferred demand. The Sovereignty VPN provides the architecture to merge physical reality with the data substrate. An infrastructural empire's value depends on a hyperscaler's ability to measure and serve actual demand. Systems engineer W. Edwards Deming proved that any system operating without a shared purpose defaults to destructive sub-optimization. Hyperscalers are currently trapped in this loop because they are operating on an incomplete ledger of the global economy. On the left, the information ledger captures productivity, AI inferences, and cloud compute. On the right, the sovereignty ledger illuminates, tracking purpose, unseen care, and watershed health. This dark space holds $590 trillion in unpriced, invisible capital. Ignoring this ecosystem of real-world input is the root cause of phantom demand and overbuilding. Bridging these two ledgers is the mathematical method required to reveal true physical demand. True infrastructure optimization becomes possible only when the physical compute substrate integrates the hidden capital of the living system. Bridging these ledgers cannot be achieved through traditional web scraping or centralized collection, which extract value rather than integrating it. The Sovereignty VPN solves this through a core mechanism known as Lock 7. The rule of Lock 7 is that data never leaves its source. It is strictly queried, never collected. The protocol protects data at the origin. Raw information remains within a rigid boundary, ensuring complete sovereignty. An external AI sends a localized query into the node. It computes the answer locally and exits carrying only a mathematical proof. This mechanism eliminates the risks associated with scraping the open web. Because the raw data is never transferred or surveilled, this architecture exceeds global privacy regulations by its design. High-fidelity training data can only be generated through verifiable, consensual local queries. This architecture requires AI agents to transition from being extractors to acting as witnesses. These witness agents operate at the edge, learning from validated patterns and negative knowledge without compromising proprietary intellectual property. This turns every behind-the-meter device and prosumer into a calibration point. These calibration points stream precise metrics: actual energy limits, real compute needs, and verified care hours. On our demand chart, the volatile inferred demand curve morphs into this grounded, smooth curve labeled actual demand, anchored by data points from the physical edge. When actual demand is measured precisely at the physical edge, infrastructure supply can match it perfectly. Overbuilding is structurally eliminated. Precision transforms defensive expenditures, like compliance fines and interconnection delays, into deployable capital. Generating actual demand at the calibration point provides the operational hedge against stranded assets. This architecture scales instantly. When these calibration points connect at the edge, they form a globally coordinated network. The Sovereignty VPN functions as a mathematical value recomposition engine for the entire ecosystem. To drive adoption, it relies on a dual incentive structure to reward first-mover hyperscalers. To solve the cold start problem, an initial ignition share branches off to hyperscalers. This is the pioneer's dividend. Once the network reaches coherence, the primary flow establishes a continuous loop, granting the hyperscaler a permanent weighted share. the entity dividend. This permanent dividend pays the hyperscaler in perpetuity for providing the physical coordination substrate of the living economy. This transforms data centers from depreciating assets into permanent yield generators grounded in physical reality. Hyperscalers do not have to abandon their current trajectory. Through the "and" principle, they co-build this symbiotic substrate while continuing their proprietary AI paths. The system restores individual income by distributing a permanent dividend back to every human operating behind the meter. By returning dividends to the local meter, the hyperscaler builds a financial link between the data center's operation and the community's income. This alignment of incentives creates a shared interest in infrastructure. When expansion improves local financial outcomes, permitting and regulatory hurdles become collaborative processes. Securing that social license immediately stabilizes long-term investor confidence, structurally insulating the entire infrastructure rollout from unpredictable market volatility. Compare the 1970s ARPANET topology on the left with the Sovereignty VPN on the right. Both are foundational substrates supporting all subsequent economic activity. Maintaining the right to build requires securing the living economy substrate first. Providing that substrate guarantees your right to build the future.